Kia ora tātou. Welcome to this video where we'll look at naming the rest of the functional groups for organic chemistry, so alkenes, carboxylic acids, alcohols, and amines. So quite a bit to cover. We'll get through as quickly as we can. So this table would be quite useful for you when naming organic compounds. So the carboxylic acids, alcohols, and amines, they all have a priority order. Alkenes kind of come into this, but for level 2 we don't need to know it. So if we see a carboxylic acid and an alcohol, the carboxylic acid is more important than the alcohol, and we'll learn what impact that has on naming the organic compound. But just going through, carboxylic acids have the functional group of a double bond to an oxygen and then an OH group as well, coming off that same carbon. This always has to be the final carbon in the chain. So if we look at how we name carboxylic acids, you notice there's no need for a number in there, and that's because the number always has to be 1, because it always has to come from the first carbon, so we don't need to include it. There's no prefix for carboxylic acids because they have the greatest priority, so they never get pushed back into the prefix name of an organic compound. We'll see what I mean by that in a minute. Alcohols have the functional group of an OH group. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as a hydroxyl group. When we're naming alcohols, we name them with an, and then the number, and then ol. For small organic molecules that are only 1 or 2 carbons, then we don't need to say the number that the hydroxyl group is attached to. So for example, ethanol, you don't need to say ethan 1-ol. But if there's anything longer than that, we do. And then if there's anything more important than an alcohol in the organic compound, then we use the prefix hydroxy. Amines, they have the suffix amine, amine and then prefix amino. We'll look into that. And then alkenes have, you need to say the number that the double bond is coming from. In this case, you wouldn't because there's only one place that it could be. And then end with ene. So let's go through some examples of how to name these more complex organic compounds. So we've got this one here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. We can see that it's a carboxylic acid because it's got that functional group. So we just need to name the 5 carbons, which is going to be pent. And then we add the suffix for a carboxylic acid, which is enoic acid. So this one here, pentanoic acid. Nice and easy. So here we have the same base molecule. We've got these 5 carbons, and we've got a carboxylic acid group here. We can see that we've also got this hydroxyl group, the OH group coming off one of the carbons there. So if we look back at the table, we would see that the carboxylic acid is more important than the OH group. And what that means is that first of all, we give the carboxylic acid the suffix in the name. Anything that gets the suffix is the most important one. And we also give this one the lowest possible number. So if there's a carboxylic acid group, we will name from that carbon. That's always going to get number 1, even if we can find a way of numbering that gives a total number lower than numbering from this way. So that's going to get the number 1. So we've got a 4 group coming off there, which is the OH group. So we're going to use the prefix for that in this case. I've got things disappearing. Oh, it's because I'm pushing the button on the pen. So it's going to be 4-hydroxy 4-hydroxy pentanoic acid. And that's it. Done. Cool. And then our final one is that I've added in a chlorine atom here, a chloro group. So we've still got our main chain, and the functional group, the carboxylic acid, is still the most important one. So we are going to number from there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got a 4-chloro, 4-hydroxy. And so in this case, once something gets pushed into the prefix, you just put all of the things in the prefix in alphabetical order. So the chlorine group here is going to be come first because that is first in the alphabet. So we're going to say 4-chloro, 4-hydroxy, 4-hydroxy, pentanoic acid. And that's it named. Done. Great. So let's move on to naming alcohols. We've had a bit of a taster there. So if we've got a, let's clean this up by getting rid of that. If we have a 3 carbon compound, we're going to use the base name prop. So this is prop, propan, and it doesn't matter which way we number from. We could go 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3. We're always going to end up with this hydroxyl group coming off the second carbon. So it's going to be propan 2-ol for that one there, propan 2-ol. And then moving across, we've got a OH group with the amine there, and we know that the OH group has a greater priority than the amine, so we need to name this as the amino. So this is going to be 2-amino propan 2-ol. Alright, and that's alcohols. So moving on to amines. This one, so anything that comes, if there was a Cl group or anything like that, that would automatically be pushed to the prefix for any of these molecules. This one here, amines, you might see them written in a few different ways, or a couple of different ways. So we can actually name this as the prefix or the suffix, and they're both correct. So here we could call this aminoethane. We don't need to put a number here. We don't need to say 1 aminoethane, because whether the amino group was on this carbon or this carbon, giving it the number 1 would be the lowest number we could give it. So we can cross that out. We just say aminoethane, or we can call this ethan amine. Either or works, so that's totally fine. And that's how you name amines. So you might see them written as both. And then for alkenes, so for the level 2 course, you won't see alkenes with another functional group. So we just need to know, well, you won't see alkenes with the functional group that ends up in the suffix. You might see something with like a halogen attached, but we've got an example of that. So this one has got 4 carbons, so that takes the base name bute. And then we need to work out where the double bond is. So the double bond could be coming off the first carbon or the second carbon. It would be possible to have a double bond there. So we need to be specific as to where that double bond is. So here this is bute-1-ene. So that's showing that the double bond is coming from the third carbon. And then if we were to look at this one, we've still got the base bute-1-ene, but we've got 2 iodine molecules coming here. So we're going to number from the double bond, giving the double bond the lowest possible number, and then we're going to name the iodos. So here we've got 4, and then to separate numbers, we use a comma, 4 diiodo. I used iodo on this one because it's good to get experience with that. Diiodo bute-1-ene. So, between these 2 videos, that's how you would name all of the organic compounds needed for level 2 chemistry. I hope that's useful. The best thing to do is to just practice naming as many compounds as you can. Look on No Brain Too Small, NZQA, past exams, anything you can find, your textbooks. Name as many compounds as you can, and then you'll find it no problems at all. All the best. Like and subscribe for more organic chemistry videos.